welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show. It's Expresso on S3, and following the success of the Working Class Woman of District 6 collection, fashion designer Nuran Muhammad draws inspiration from Cape Malay culture as a homage to her upbringing and, of course, a celebration of her heritage. Now, today, she is joining us in studio by also a friend of the show, fashion guru, style influencer, one of the best stylists, Shiraz Reddy. He is here to also help us discuss the history and evolution of Cape Malay fashion. Nuran, Shiraz, it's great to have you here.
Always a pleasure to be here early morning.
Early morning, and we're just kicking it off straight off the bat, talking all things fashion.
Yes.
Now, Shiraz, we know when it comes to the Cape Malay, we always focus on the food, we focus on the history, we focus on the music. But where does the Cape Malay fashion inspiration come from?
I mean, it originates firstly from many centuries ago, you know, when lots of the original people, or better known, now known as Cape Malay people, came from the Dutch East Indies to this year, the island of Cape of Good Hope. And I would say that that is where it started. You know, they came in with their very plain and simple and light, airy clothing, very modest, obviously, which is obviously that touch that most Cape Malay women and men would have worn back then and still do, but obviously with a modern day edge today. Yeah, and that for me is where it's originated from, but always keeping with its good tailoring, and again, staying with that modest edge. Yeah.
And in terms of color?
I would have to say it was very plain and simple back then, but obviously it's evolved quite a bit. Nuran will take you through that. But I definitely think that, you know, that plain and simpleness has helped us. I mean, we all love a mandarin, or better known as a Chinese collared shirt. It's still very iconic to the Cape Malay way of dressing, or style rather. But super important to note is that the tailoring was always impeccable. You know, it was always light and airy. Women would always cover their heads, men as well. And now as it evolves, I think it's become a little bit more playful than what it would have been back then. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, Nuran, I'm looking at your outfit and I have complete envy. You are stylish to a T, but also your collection is incredible, where you are paying homage to District 6, but also in particular to the work and the life of drag artist and hairdresser Cupie. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about what was it that inspired this collection?
So with this collection, I feel that it was so special to me because my family originated from District 6. And when doing the research on this collection, I went into the museum and I just came across Cupie's exhibit, and that was one of the things that stood out for me. So from there, I took planning from the Cape Malay cookbook, I took from Cupie, I took information from my family's heritage, and I combined all of that. So in this collection, I wanted it to display the working class women of District 6 specifically. And it had to display the nurturer, the Cape Malay bride, the mother, and as well as the woman who plays both roles to society. And I actually wanted it to be more about that specific era than the clothing. So as you can see in these garments over here, this gown, for example. So with this gown, this also displayed the trousseau that the Cape Malay bride would receive.
So is that the front?
Yes, this is the front. And the back was quite busy because it took quite some time sewing all these buttons together. It was 84 buttons going right down.
Sure.
And this was seen as the Cape Malay Victorian gown to the bride. And I think this was very important, and this was also one of the most important pieces in my collection. So,
It's beautiful.
And with regards to print, I also tried to bring out that playful approach. So you can see in this garment over here, there's a lot going on. So this is a print that I actually designed myself. You can see there's a lot of stars. So I tried to get the star sweets out, the Big Deal ice cream, as well as the Marshall Broads, which is also known as Double O. They're cool drinks, so I'm not sure if you can see it in here, but that's where I was going with.
Oh, fantastic. I love how you've played with the pattern and how you're paying homage to it, and that gown for me is absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Now, Shiraz, I mean, with the unique characteristics of Cape Malay fashion, you touched on it earlier, modesty and plain colors.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore,
No,
is it?
it's not. It's super modern. I think Nuran has definitely displayed it quite well in her recent collection. And what it does do now is it speaks more to the character of how Cape Malay people have evolved as a very important part of culture, and not only in Cape Town, but in South Africa as a whole and in Africa as a continent. And it's the stories are told through the clothes. It's told through their experiences from mom right through to dad, aunt and uncle, cousin. And it's also just told in the textures, you know. Back then it was light and airy, lots of pure cotton and linen. Now it's very playful and wavy. If we look at this beautiful purple gown that Nuran has designed. And I think what also is really important to note is that gone are the days where it needs to be very loose and flowy. It can be quite fitted. You know, you can honor a woman for a beautiful figure. It's not really frowned upon anymore. You know, obviously we would like to keep those modest touches, you know, covering the head for women and for men as well. You know, that I like to use the term a salat top. It's known in Cape Town, you know, gone are those days. But, you know, again, it's really just all about the evolution, and it really has become a lot more playful, a little bit risque. Okay. Which is good.
It is good.
Yeah, it is really good.
And Nuran, thoughts of bringing out a men's line?
So
please do.
Bring out a men's line.
So I did actually do a men's line called Ciudad Azul, which means blue city in Spanish. So with that collection, I based it on the tanneries of Morocco. Ooh. And it was kind of leaning more towards the metrosexual approach of Islamic way in Morocco. So with regards to the future, I plan on taking this collection, taking the Ciudad Azul collection and combining it and making something completely new out of it.
Well, listen, so much to look forward to when you do bring out that new collection. Please come and visit us again. Shiraz, Nuran, it was great having you both here. And of course, today we are paying homage and honoring and celebrating everything that has to do with Cape Malay culture.